Hello, my name is Omar Abasad. It is 5:04 p.m., January 18, 2021. So I posted some blood pressure measurements and some temperature measurements and so on. So I'm going to give you an online sample of what I did. So this is me live demonstrating once again what is going on here in the building inside of my home. So here temperature right now is 74.3. That's the room temperature. So I'm going to slip this in. I'm also going to take this detector and put it in on my obliques right there. Okay, so that's the strap. And I'm going to take my temperature underarm. So (36.6). The other one. (37.2). So that's a 0.8 difference. Do it again. 37.1. 36.9. So it's evening out. Because my back is pulsed, and I'll demonstrate that with this detector. My ear is being tagged for days of days. My hand. Maximum power. As I tweeted just now, there were some contractors working with the superintendent, and as they walked out, he shouted, "Maximum power, bitch." Well, this is what maximum power looks like. This is what they mean. And my eye has been burning and hurting. The head. Okay. I'm going to take my blood pressure as a starting point. So my face, as I just showed, see my jaw? It's swollen. My face is actually hurting. And I got up with my eyes swollen. And just a hint for those people out there who's suffering inflammation. Castor oil is really, really good because castor oil is very, very high in vitamin E. So also my sinuses. So I rub it on my skin. I also, for lubrication, I use it internally in my nostrils. I actually pour it in my nostrils because castor oil, of course, is not poisonous because it's used as a laxative. So I just pour a few drops, bend my head, flip my head back, pour a few drops into the nostrils, let it massage it in, and you can actually feel it dripping down the back of your nose. And I've been doing that for the last few days, and it's perfectly fine. There's no burning sensation in my nostrils because sometimes these signals are aimed, especially when I'm sleeping, and I do this, the signals are aimed directly into the nostrils, just like it's aimed directly into the air, like this. So it's on and off. So my blood pressure, because I am being pulsed and my body is hot, 135/76, 84 heart rate. Okay. So I'm going to take my EKG. Excuse me. EKGs. I was getting my moisture pad because your fingers need to be moist to put it on the electrodes. So that's why I was turning the other way. Sorry about that. Turning away from the camera. Anyway, so let me take the EKG for a minute. The cardio mobile gives you an option for 30 seconds. The duration of the EKG gives you an option of 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, and I think it goes up to 5, which gives you a really good sample. So it's absolutely normal right now, even though I'm in pain. 135/76. The heart rate is fine. 76 is good. 120/80 is normal. So 135. I'm sore because the heat inflames my muscles. So I'm in pain, but not disabling pain. So it's absolutely normal. The heart rate. Okay. So I'm going to do this as I just read very briefly some links, some articles I got from links. I'm cutting through the Matrix website. So the saturation is fine. 96, PI is 7.7, heart rate 83. I just got 84 in this, so it's quite accurate. Oh, it just blanked out there on me. And that was a palpitation. So the heart rate went up from 82 to 100, over 100 there. And it dropped right back down. So that was a palpitation. And that's because I just got a huge pulse of pain on the left rib. There, you just saw it. So if I were to take the blood pressure one more time, and I should take the EKG to see what the heck's going on. And that's how sudden it happens. That's how it happens. Because I'm constantly being pulsed, and there you go. That's the pain I was feeling. On directly on the heart. So I am actually getting cramps on the back of the chest, the chest and the back on the left side. And it just started. So let me just see what the blood pressure looks like. So 135/79. So the one before that was 135/79. No, sorry, 135/76. Say it went up a little, 135/79, 76 to 79. So See, that's how fast it changes. And you saw it in the oximeter. This is when I get a heart palpitation or I skip a beat, the oximeter blanks out and then it starts at a different heart rate. So yeah, I'm getting palpitations. Just got a huge one there. So whatever it is you saw in the oximeter just now is showing up in the EKG. So I'll be monitoring this as I read the articles that I'm going to read. Somebody obviously is logged in, so it will show in the microwave detector data, the dump. And even though it says normal, you can see the wavy lines there. Okay. So, and the heart rate went up to 89. So I'm just going to keep on the oximeter here and keep on monitoring it. And my eyes are just burning and it's tearing up. So as I was saying before, sometimes I get up inflamed with boils on my body because the heat generates boils because it activates the bacteria that's in the follicles of the hair. And if it activates it in a lot of follicles in the same spot, you have a boil. Castor oil again, if you wear a castor oil patch, it goes away almost, overnight. It's a great remedy. So I'm going to read today an article related to I should have gotten my water, but I got distracted. Okay, so I'm just going to make this one short because my mouth is dry because I'm being hit. So this article is about Rob Ford firing somebody from his caucus because he spoke out about the lockdowns. So there is a lot of human rights abuses that's being carried out right now. All our rights are being taken away. So people who fight against it is being penalized. So in the lifesitenews.com website, Ontario Premier kicks MPP out of party for saying lockdowns aren't working. So Premier Doug Ford called MPP Roman Babar's letter stating the detrimental effects of lockdowns irresponsible and booted him out from the Progressive Conservative Party. So an Ontario MPP who said publicly that COVID-19 lockdown measures are killing lives instead of saving lives was swiftly knocked out of his party caucus by Premier Doug Ford. The lockdowns aren't working. They are killing lives instead of saving lives. I plead with you to accept this reality and end the lockdown. I wrote this letter with my greatest respect to you and your colleagues, wrote York Centre MPP Roman Babar in a letter titled, "The Lockdown is Deadlier Than COVID." And of course, a lot of people agrees with that. It's causing an avalanche of suicides, overdoses, bankruptcies, divorces, and takes an immense toll on our children. Dozens of leading doctors implored you to end the lockdown. So there are doctors who work with the government and there are doctors who work independently who obviously have a different opinion. Keeping in mind, governments have one thing in mind: to stay in power. Dozens of leading doctors implored you to end the lockdown, wrote Babar. Babar's letter quickly resulted in Ford booting him from the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party. Okay. He has also been banned from ever returning again for office as a member of the Ontario PC Party. In a statement sent out today, Ford said Babar's comments are irresponsible and Babar was spreading misinformation and putting people's lives at risk. Well, speaking your mind and disagreeing with the government definitely is not irresponsible, and it's not misinformation. It's a different point of view that's being held by different doctors as well. So what the government is doing, people are not agreeing with, and in a democracy, people have a right to speak up. And this is what he did. So it's not irresponsible. So obviously, Ford has the right to, so my heart rate is up to 94 now. So my knee is being hit right now. That's my knee. As I was saying, Ford has, as the leader of the party, he has the ability and the right to kick anybody out of his caucus. But, he definitely, the man is not being irresponsible and is not spreading misinformation. So I just got a huge scan on my chest. There it is right there. So I'm just going to take my blood pressure. PI dropped to 3.9, so the blood pressure increased. So this constant onslaught on my body with microwaves, it thickens the blood, it exhausts my body because it affects the electrical currents in the body, it drains it. Like a battery, it goes up and down. It affects my heart. When the blood pressure goes up to 194 over, 180, I saw it as high. It could blow out your heart valves. It can cause aneurysms in the vein. It can cause aneurysms in the heart, in the walls of the heart. Of course, it can affect your brain, the vessels in your brain as well. It can cause aneurysms in your brain. So the blood pressure is 128 over 81, so it went up. It's a little bit lower than 135 over 79, but it's up to 128 over 81, and a heart rate from 99. So the heart rate went from 84, 99 to 87. So that was a huge scan. I'm gonna take my blood pressure one more time. Another article I wanted to touch on was from a website, unlimitedhangout.com, and I got these links from Cutting Through the Matrix. So it's titled Silicon Valley and WEF, that's the World Economic Forum, backed foundation announced global initiative for COVID-19 vaccine records. So Silicon Valley's most influential companies, alongside healthcare companies, US intelligence contractors, and the Commons Project Foundation, recently launched a vaccination credential initiative. The initiative ambitions reach far beyond vaccines and will have major implications for civil 128 over 80, not civil liberties. So just touching on the main points. The VCI, the Vaccination Credential Initiative, aims to help people get encrypted digital copies of their immunization records stored in a digital wallet of their choice, because the current system of vaccination records does not readily support convenient access and sharing of verifiable vaccination records. To advance, and skipping ahead here, to advance these goals, the Common Trust Network is powered by the global registry, a global registry of trusted laboratory and vaccination data sources, as well as standard formats for lab results and vaccination records and standard tools to make these records and results and records digitally accessible, and that's a global system. Another and related Commons Project Foundation and WEF partnership is Common Pass. The Common Pass, which is also supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, is both a framework and an app that will allow individuals to access their lab results and vaccination records and consent to have that information used to validate their COVID status without revealing any other underlying personal health information. Well, I have access to my health records right now. I pay $20 a year with the lab, and I can access my results. I don't need a global one. I don't need a global system to allow me to do that. So, current members of Common Pass include JetBlue, Lufthansa, Swiss International Airlines, and I just got a physical pulse of pain into my stomach. United Airlines, that's the first one since I started reading. United Airlines and Virgin Atlantic are also members of the Common Trust, and it created heat internally. So it created gas. So I feel like burping. My stomach feels like there was a spasm. And it created gas going the other way. This overlap between the Commons Project Foundation. So airlines, so Swiss International Airlines, United Airlines, and Virgin, that will allow you to travel. Wearable IDs for your health and your wallet. While advertised as a digital vaccination record, this is the last paragraph here, smart health cards are clearly intended to be used for much more. And this is the idea. For instance, public information on the framework notes that smart health cards are building blocks that can be used across healthcare, including managing a complete immunization record that goes far beyond COVID-19 vaccines, sharing data with public health agencies, and communication with healthcare providers. So this paragraph before that, overlap between digital vaccination records promoted via initiatives such as Common Pass and VCI, and the push for a new global digital identity system is no coincidence. Indeed, the developer of VCI Smart Health Cards framework at Microsoft Health, Josh C. Mandel, noted in his overview presentation on that framework that digital identity is integral to the digital vaccination record effort. Smart health cards, as of now, are expected to include a person's complete name, gender, birth date, mobile phone number, and an email address in addition to vaccination information, though it is possible and likely that more personal information will be required as the initiative advances, given that VCI states that these identifiers are merely a starting point. It's merely a starting point. Okay, so the oximeter keeps switching off. Yeah, adjust the pulse. Starting to get heart palpitations because I'm getting a physical pulse from the outside into my stomach. And there was a synchronized knock underneath my unit. Yeah, so it's normal. So other than when I get the pulse, I get this palpitation that shows up as this deep line on the graph. Yeah, it's normal. Didn't see anything unusual. I just wanted to touch on one more article here. This is in the RT.com website. High protein content, insects set to crawl their way into European plates as EU regulators rule mealworms are safe to eat. Mealworms. Needless to say, worms of any kind is never going to make it on my dinner plate. Europeans are a step closer to finding all sorts of creepy crawlies on the menu. So 128/81. Creepy crawlies on the menu as the EU Food Safety Agency has officially deemed the first such species, a yellow mealworm, to be specific safe to eat. A yellow mealworm, to be specific, safe to eat. The development means that people buying pasta, burgers, and even biscuits in a store somewhere in Europe might soon find out that their food is made up of mealworms, thoroughly dried and ground into powder. Those of a more adventurous nature may be able to buy a baggie of whole dried insects as a snack. Such possibilities are about to open up following the decision by the European Food Safety Watchdog. So here we are being turned into targets and robots and GMO people. And we're going to be part human and part machine and part animal. And bugs are being put on our menu. Makes sense. After all, animals eat bugs. And we're not any higher than your, any other animal. We're on the same level now. It used to be thought that the human beings were the top of the food chain. We were, the highest of the high. We were at the top. Now we're going to eat bugs. So I think we've just fallen off our pedestal, the pedestal of being a human being. We're now going to officially eat bugs. Because some agency came along and said it's good to do it. It's a high protein content. Well, there's a lot of things that has high protein. Beans and peas and nuts. It doesn't have to be meat necessarily. Vegetables, some vegetables, grains. So many other sources of protein. With economic crisis looming, EU overlords legalize food made from worms and baby crickets. Are they going to serve that in Brussels? So again, it all comes down to economics. I mean, it takes so much money to grow animals, to eat meat, chicken, that it's so much easier to grow crickets. I mean, after all, the slave owners want to be able to feed the slaves on a cheapest possible basis. So, and we are now in an economic crisis, a man-made one. So now we're going to be eating bugs because our slave masters says so. In 2020, prepare to eat bugs and bags of weed. And while we're doing that, we're going to be smoking a joint and being spaced out because now that too is legal. And it helps people deal with the COVID-19 crisis. Whether ordinary Europeans agree is another question, and insects may well prove not to be to everyone's taste. It's an understatement. There are cognitive reasons derived from our social and cultural experiences. The so-called yuck factor, and that's mildly stating it in my opinion, that makes thought of eating insects repellent to many Europeans. Well, there's a reason for that. They are repelling. You spray them with bug killers. You don't eat them. They don't taste good. And they are not really, I don't care who says the opposite, they're not really a good source of food, of protein. Okay, so Giovanni Sogari, a social and consumer researcher at the University of Parma, said while hoping that with some time and exposure, such attitudes can change. Well, if they did a good PR as they did for COVID, you betcha it's going to change. It's going to be a thing. The UN declared insects, which are quite popular snacks in other parts of the world, such as Asia, South America, and Africa, a healthy option quite some time ago. In a 2013 report by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization said it would be a good way to combat food scarcity. So my problem with that is that there is no food scarcity. Absolutely not. There is no food scarcity. It's man-made. We have the ability and the resources to feed every human being in the face of the earth as we stand today. We also have the ability and the resources and the education, infrastructure and technology to educate people, every single person in the face of it, not to have 10 kids, to decrease the population, in other words, naturally and humanely, not to just, as I suspect somebody released COVID-19 and kill off millions and millions and millions of people, or use man-made technology and artificial created earthquake, but ground penetrating radar that can penetrate miles into the earth and create a tsunami or an earthquake and kill off people rapidly. These things can be done. We have the technology to do that as well. So on one hand, we have the technology to manage the earth and manage the people on it, and keep the humanity and keep us as human beings and not transhumans, and feed everyone properly and take care of every single human being and allow them to have a family and to reproduce and to have all the relationships that generate the well-being of a human being, and keep it that way. On one hand, we have that. On the other hand, we have the ability to change, to destroy and change into part human, part machine, and apparently part animal, because we can have all kinds of animal genes put into us as well through genetic engineering. So which way do you want to go? Do you want a chip and be lazy and have the information downloaded into your brain, and the price you pay for that is somebody else have control over you? You lose your identity, you lose your privacy, you lose the ability to make decisions on your own, you lose all your human rights. In other words, you're not a human being, you're an it. You're not even an animal, you're an it. An animal do not have a chip. Animal is an animal. It's not part machine, part animal. It's an animal, at least for now. But when we push this agenda and we become transhumans, then of course we're no longer human beings. We are transhumans. Which way do you want it? Because transhumans mean that you're completely taken care of. You lose your autonomy. You lose your sovereignty of being, of body, of thinking, of brain. Somebody else, another transhuman, is going to have control of you, if not a machine altogether, another computer. So just you think about this. Here we have human beings like Einstein and all the other scientists whose name I can't say right now because it doesn't come to mind. But there are thousands of extremely intelligent people who brought us to the point of having all this great science and great technology, and create the robots and artificial intelligence and all that. So then at the point at which we can take all of that resource, education, technology, and make the human being, while remaining a human being, make it completely fulfilled in all the needs of a human being, all the physical needs, all the emotional needs, all the spiritual needs, as a human being, and keep the humanity. We're at that point. We can take that technology and do that. Give everybody half an acre of land. Every family has half an acre of land. There is enough land in the world to do that and manage the world that way. Instead, what do we have? We have a few thousand people, if not less. I'd say a few hundred, billionaires, multi-billionaires, who's going to take control and say to us, gee, we know better than you. It's like Doug Ford, right? The doctor is behind him. He's not going to ignore them, the doctors behind him. But the doctors who's working for him are not the only doctors in the world. And they disagree with what he's doing and saying. Because he's following a different agenda. He's following the World Economic Forum's agenda. He's following the New World Order's agenda of lockdowns. The lockdown is part of the New World Order agenda. So we're going the wrong way. We're absolutely going the wrong way. because all the chips and all the digital ID, which he's already rolled out, and all the lockdowns and all the consolidation of power and all the consolidation of wealth and all the consolidation of control of data, which is going to be big business, big government. Government and business is going to, and big business is going to control that, going to tell us what to do. We're going to be hooked up to the cloud. We're going to have digital currency. That is all for control. It's not for fulfillment and happiness. It's for control. It's for power. It's for enslavement. We're going the wrong way. And if everybody did what the MPP did to Doug Ford, if everybody stood up like him and said, no, this is wrong, I'm not going to be a part of it, and yes, you can fire me, guess what? There's not going to be any enslavement, which is exactly how the slaves got free in the first place. And the Black people are not the only people who was enslaved, by the way. Because people have been enslaved since there was creation. They rebel. They have a revolution. They fight against the powers who's taking orders from the enslaving power. The cops who carry out their instructions. The police should refuse to carry out instructions that is going to take away their rights as well. Because when they're finished with the police force, when they're finished with the military, they're going to be taken out. They'll get rid of them. Because in a technocracy, you don't need an army and you don't need a police force. You just turn up the power. And this is what 5G is going to be about. 5G, 6G, 10G, Elon Musk, satellite network. It's all going to be it's going to be a technocracy. You're going to be controlled with technology, not the cops and not the military. Technology is going to control you through the chip that's going to connect you to the cloud. Is that what you want? Because that's complete and utter enslavement. Is that what you want? This is not the time to beat around the bush, and it's not the time to be diplomatic, and it's not the time to hide behind anybody's skirt or pants. Mother, father, brother, sister, then they're not going to help you, because the government is going to be in your head. Just like right now, PK is between my legs. They're aiming not to be between your legs only, because remember, a target is for practice. They're aiming to be in your head. And the vaccine is only the first step to getting that done. They're aiming to be in your head 24/7. So if you think that a chip between your legs is invasive and men are logging on to you as you sleep at night, as the detector is, as the data dump from my detector is clearly demonstrating that somebody's logged into me all the time. If you think that's invasive, think a year down the line when they put it in your head. And there is a voice in your head constantly telling you what to do. You think about that, because that is a reality. And this is what targets. I don't hear voices in my head. There are targets out there who's like Rohini Besasa, who say that they hear voices in their heads. And she's diagnosed with schizophrenia by government employees who are covering up for dirty government employees running dirty experiments. She is actually hearing voices in her head, but she's not schizophrenic, in my opinion. It's microwave hearing. Because microwaves can do that. They can use microwaves to put voices in your head. Other technologies as well. You think about that. So I'm going to stop talking because my mouth is dry. My throat is getting pulsed, as you can tell. 36.8. $36.9. Talk to you another time.